boxing.
Welcome to a very special edition of the 5 Live Boxing Show. We're on the beach, you can hear it. I'm down in Hove, next to Brighton, because across the road from the beach is where first Chris Eubank Sr. and now Chris Eubank Jr. have trained in a gym run by Ronnie Davis, who first walked through the doors at this gym 60 odd years ago. The gym opened in 1946. Brighton and Hove Boxing Gym, the place where Chris the dad first walked through the doors and Chris the son first walked through the doors. And on this day, in this gym, Chris Eubank Jr. is putting the final touches to the preparation for the night at the O2 against Conor Benn. And with Ronnie now, Ronnie, we can't go in the actual gym where you basically grew up and you hear and see the ghost. We can't go in there because it's full of a million trillion kids, which is absolutely terrific. But just talk me through again, Ronnie, when you first walked through the doors at this, I call it the subterranean beach, the subterranean gym. It's below sea level, Ron.
Yeah, well, I was 10 years of age when I come in here. And my father was my trainer, and he was training the amateurs down there years before that. I mean, the gym was established in 1946, and by what a coincidence, that's the year I was born. And I'm still here, Bunsen. You're still interviewing me.
Now, your name is on the wall in there, 63, 64. Is that like Boxer of the Year, Junior of the Year?
No, it's when I won the... I was junior ABA finalist, I won the Southern Counties Juniors, and I won the Southern Counties Senior. That's for a turned pro, obviously. I was only 17 then, so you know.
It's a gym full of tradition and full of history. Obviously, Scott Welsh, I want to hopefully speak to Scott a bit later on. And then Chris Eubank Jr., you're going to be working with a bit later, and I'm going to be talking to. But it's the father, Chris Eubank Sr., and a man that you're very closely associated with. Ron, I've never asked you, all the times you and I have been together over the last 30 or 25 or so years, when did you first meet Chris? Where was it? I still don't know that.
Well, you should know by now. I've told you enough time, Bunsen.
I'm allowed to forget things.
Oh, I suppose you are, yeah. 1987, he come in the gym. I had a gym across the road. His brothers were training there, and he'd just come home from America. And I was with Ray Catus, good fighter Ray, wasn't he? A hard kid. He's standing next to me, so I got him back into boxing, got my trainer's license. And we saw this Eubank working out. I said, what do you think of that kid? And I said, he's beautifully balanced, isn't he? Which he was. Yeah, he said. I said, I know I'll train him, but I'll ask you, how would you train him? He said, I'll leave him alone. I said, exactly. Work on what he's got, because he had everything. Even then, beautiful style, hooks, uppercuts, everything. But he'd done a lot of work in America, which don't mean to say it's going to, that beneficial. I suppose in some ways it is. And I started talking to him, and he went to me, I like you, Mr. Davis, and I'm prepared to give you a month's trial to train me. I said, are you? I thought to myself, I'm not going to say nothing because I could see what I had. And I didn't want to go back on no building size, it was too hard. And I thought to myself, there's one there, mate, look after him. And that's what I did.
And it was a unbelievable journey. I mean, I know this should be about the son, but whilst you're here and whilst we're relaxed and whilst you're in a talkative mood, it was an unbelievable journey, Ron.
Oh, yeah, well, then world title fights together. I think he went 48 fights without a defeat. All the world title defences. I went all over the world with him. I went on a holiday with him. He took me everywhere. I was walking through the lanes in Brighton, and he said to me, he phoned me up. I was walking through the lanes, and he went, Davis, he said, go and get your bag packed. We're out in Concord in 4 hours' time. And we went out in Concord. We went out in Concord to New York, then down to Texas to see, was it Chavez and Whitaker?
Yeah, it would have been, yeah.
Yeah.
24 world title fights, Ron. 24 world title fights.
Unbelievable. Yeah, great experience for me to do that. And I've been in a few since, obviously, with Oki and people like that. And I always, Howard Eastman, he was a good fighter, wasn't he? Do you remember him?
I love that Howard Eastman, yeah. Great fighter.
Great.
British middleweight champion. Should have been a world champion if he'd have just thrown a couple more punches and a couple more rounds. He'd been a world champion.
That's right. He's lazy, wasn't he? But he could fight. Oh, he's tough. Oki was good. I've had some good boys.
Now, for this fight, it's my understanding you're going to be back in control of the corner. It's going to be you. You're going to be the chief coach. No Roy Jones and no Chris Eubank Sr. anywhere near the corner. It'll be you and the kid, Junior.
Yeah, that's it. Me and Anthony Brown by the side. And it was for his first 18 or 19 fights. It was just me, head cornerman, but then the old man changed it. But I mean, always done well. I'm experienced enough. God, I don't get nervous. I know what to do. As I said, I had a lot of experience, didn't I? So he should listen.
Ron, did you think after the last fight between the fathers? Did you think that was it at the Old Trafford? Did you think that was it? Or did you always have in your mind, you know what, something else could happen? We might see some more of this as we go on.
Yeah, I thought 2 fights was enough, Steve.
So did I.
I thought 2 fights. The first one, I said to Barry, don't let him fight again. It was too hard. No man should have to go through that. And I think they both used their loaf a bit more. The second one, and got a bit wised up and didn't try and kill each other, but it was still another fight. Very close. My
problem with this fight at the weekend, which is a terrific fight, don't get me wrong, and I love the idea of it. I've got a feeling that it would be more like the first fight between the fathers and not the second fight between the fathers.
Yeah, this is going to be brutal. I mean, the first fight, as you know, Steve, you were there, was brutal, and I think it's be the same. They want to half kill each other. You know what I mean? It will be.
Does that make it difficult as a coach or easy as a coach because you know where you got to try and stop?
No, just he knows what to do. He's very. I'll just keep him nice and calm, and say, look, don't go mad. He knows what to do. Steve is experienced enough.
Do you see a lot of the old man in the boy, or do you see a lot of the boy in the old man?
Yeah, there's a hell. They've both got terrific. God, do you remember me saying years ago? Once Eubank puts his blinkers on, that's it. Nothing phases him. Junior's very similar. Cut everything out. You know what I mean? I mean, the old man wouldn't even talk in the gym. That was it. When he trained, no one spoke. You know what I mean? I've been brought up though. I didn't like him in the gym today, and everyone's talking and laughing. I turned around and told him to keep quiet. That's not gym etiquette, is it? My father would have gone mad, I think, like that. God bless him.
Finally, Ron, because I want to get over and speak to the fighters and have a little mingle and have a little float around. Plus, I want to get down to Morocco's down the road and get some crab pasta, black spaghetti pasta. But that's neither here nor there. I digress. Ron, let me ask you this: a lot of people are talking about the weight issue. Is that a big problem for you, or is it, as an old style trainer, is it just standard normal?
No, it's not a problem for me. It's a problem for him. No, it's going to be hard. You know, Steve, you know me 30 odd years. I don't like the way they cut weight and they do all these things today. And I'm not just saying in my day, all my fighters in the past, up to recently, I just had them walking about 2 or 3 pounds over the fighting weight, and I always thought that was a better way to do it. Instead of cut, but they all cut. But I don't know how to do it, and I don't want to learn how to do it. I'll leave that to Anthony Brown and Jack, his other nutritionists. And they know what they're doing. They bring him in strong. They do. But as I said, I don't necessarily agree with it. But I'm not going to go against it because it seems to work. Everyone does it now.
Now, Ron, we can't get into the old part of the gym, the old one, the smelly, glorious wooden one. It's clean, it's spotless. I love it. We can't get in there because what I was trying to do in there, Ron, is I know that you sense and feel the fighters and trainers of old, including your father. I was trying to get a bit of a seance going with you in there, son, just to see if we could touch into the spirit world.
Well, there's plenty in there. It won't be long for the saying, oh, Buncey began. I remember coming down to see Ronnie, God rest his soul, may he rest in peace. And he'd say, I don't know if he's on Scott Welsh is saying, I'm sure I'll see his ghost in there.
Oh, it's that sort of gym. Ronnie, listen, it's always a pleasure and a delight talking to you. Thanks, son.
God bless, mate.
Now, before I go in and speak to Chris Eubank Jr., I want to grab a word with former British heavyweight champion and former WBO heavyweight challenger, and a man who's been in this gym, it seems to be, for a zillion, trillion years, Scott Welsh. Scott, thanks for taking a couple of seconds away from a very crowded gym. First of all, how long have you actually been involved with this gym? When did you first walk through the door, and what did you think of it?
I come down from Great Yarmouth. I was sentenced down here while I was under the what would I say? I got sentenced community service down in Brighton, rather than it was an option. Rather than going to Borstal, they sent me down here. New environment. I walked in at 16 years old. I walked in the gym at 16 when I first come down. I knew I'd already tried boxing in Norfolk and got slung out of the gym down there. So so I had to find another gym. I didn't do anything. I think I got slung out at 13, and I come down here, 16 years old, walked in the gym, got beaten up, and then walked out and said, right, I'm going to come back and put it right.
And not get beaten up.
And not get beaten up. And then it took me a little while to get it right, and then then I got better, and I've been in there ever since. So I was in there at 16 years old, 37 years ago, but I'm still only 42. So.
That was Ronnie Davis, who's still only 52. Was he in the gym then?
No. Ronnie wasn't involved when I was here, but he was here before me, and then I got him back in about 89 or 90 with Eubank Sr. And at that days, you couldn't mix amateur and pros together, so we weren't allowed to tell anyone that, but we gave them a key and they could use it in the days. So it became his sparring gym in the days, and I carried on with the amateurs. I was involved all the way through in my pro career from 92 to 99, and then I started paying the rent. My old trainer got cancer and was looking at getting out, and I took over paying the rent in, I think, about 2000, 99, 2000, so 22 years ago I've ran it now. So in total 37 years.
It goes on. When you say that back then, you just say back in the late, in fact, the 80s and 90s into to the first years of this century, amateurs and pros couldn't be together. So what you're saying is Ronnie had a key, so he could come in and use it.
He asked us, right. So Ronnie used to train here with his father when he was young.
That's right.
And then
he talks about the ghosts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an incredible gym. I think my trainer was at 81 or 82 years, used to come with a hat, the old Trilby hat, shirt and tie on, take his jacket off, shirt, tie, jacket, take his jacket off, roll his sleeves up, and then take the session in full.
It's like something from the 40s.
Yeah, absolutely, it was. And that was obviously his era. And he never changed. So his name was Chick, and he was the first trainer that I had. So and then literally, I think, because I was in here for a few years before I had the fights, and Chick, the first season, I think 87 or 88, I then had the summer off, and when I come back after the summer, Chick had unfortunately died. And they'd buried him, and I didn't even know anything about it. So I was horrified. Yeah, I was quite. It was very sad. And then I just thought, wow. But I mean, yeah. So.
Now, can you remember, Scott? Can you remember the first time that you saw the father, Eubank Sr.? Before the trucks, before the millions, before the monocle. Can you remember?
I was at his first fight here in Hove Town.
In Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, in Brighton, Hove Town Hall. And then I went to, when he won his first title, the WBC International against Hugo Corti at York Hall, Bethnal Green.
I was there then as well.
So that would have been, what was that, 88, 89?
Yeah, it was certainly 2 years before the fight with Ben, the first fight. So about 80, maybe early 89.
Yeah. So I was at all Chris. So when I was sparring in the gym, so Ronnie got hold of me at 16 years old and wanted me to turn pro at 16.
Go on, Ronnie.
He'll tell you the story anyway. And he said before, so I hadn't even had an amateur fight then, but I could scrap, and and I think I trained with Ronnie at 16 under Ronnie. He had a pro gym above the Trafalgar pub in the Great Eastern, the pub was called, in Trafalgar Street in Brighton. And that was one where Gus Lesnovich and all the old men
the actual stuff from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah, so that's where they trained as well. So there's so much history here. And I mean, Tom Sayers from the early 1800s was a Brighton boy as well.
And with this modern history between the last, say, 35 years, between your British title fights, world title fight, then Chris Eubank's, dozens of world title fights, and then now Chris Jr. man and boy, you've seen, Chris Jr. since he was a baby coming through this gym. One of the things that people often overlook with both Eubanks, but obviously that Chris Senior dropped the S, it was Eubanks. The one thing that people overlook with the two, and you've seen it up close, is that forget what people imagine. They train like demons when they train.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had, so Chris has been here since he was 14, 15. And like you say, I'd seen him all the way through. His brother Seb, bless him, rest in peace. He boxed for us as well. So he boxed from the age. His other son Joe, his cousin Harlan was with us. So we've had the whole clan. We've now got one of the other, another relation girl, Evie. She's now coming through as a girl. So it's incredible. Yeah, I mean.
Thanks, Scott. So that was Scott Welsh and Ronnie Davis. Chris Eubank is starting his warm-up, just getting ready. It's getting closer and closer to the ring. I'll just move in and see how close I can get, see how focused he is, see how ready or willing he is to talk. Chris, just quickly, how many days left of actual proper training?
This is like the last week of intense training, sparring,
How many more days of sparring?
I'll probably fit another 2 days. So today and maybe a Friday or Saturday.
And have you tailored the sparring over the last 4 or 5 weeks, between different types of sparring partners? Are you doing anything different today than you were, say, 5 weeks ago when you started sparring?
I wouldn't say I'm doing anything different, to be honest. The guys that we use are guys that can emulate Conor's style,
It's got the feel of a sort of throwback camp. This Ronnie Davis is here. We're back in this gym. You're doing the normal stuff. It seems like I could be interviewing you before just any ordinary fight, and not a fight of this magnitude.
You're right, Steve. I absolutely haven't changed anything. There's been no, extra measures taken. If anything, it's been, a much more relaxed camp than it usually is. It definitely has. I don't see any threat in front of me.
Is that a good or a bad thing, not having that little edge of threat?
Is it a good or a bad thing? I mean, I guess it's a good thing in the fact that, in my opinion, I cannot lose the fight. Maybe it's a bad thing in that I'm not, killing myself in this training camp to get 100% fit, but I know what I'm capable of, and I know what level I need to get to beat a Conor Benn, and I'm at that level now. I was at that level before the training camp started.
Now there was a lot of talk when I talked to you, whatever it was, 4 or 5 weeks ago. You said, look, if I think I need to get specialists in, nutritionists in, I will get nutritionists in. Have you had to, or have you managed to get to where you need to do vis-a-vis the weight? Because that's one of the big talking points, as you know.
No nutritionist, no professional help in any way, shape or form for this camp. Everything I've eaten, everything I've drank, my food schedule has all been of my own making. I'm a veteran in the game. I know my own body better than anybody else can tell me. I'm comfortable at the weight I'm at right now, and I'm comfortable that I will make the weight on a weigh-in day.
And because there's been lots of footage of films, you've put them out, glorious footage of you eating multiple piles of hamburgers and chicken and stuff. You're smiling now. People really believe that you're just existing on a fried chicken and hamburger diet.
That's not my sole diet, obviously.
It's just part of it.
But it's part of it, yeah. I'm not giving up my cheat days for Conor Benn. I will indulge when I feel the need to. Like I said, I'm not killing myself in this training camp.
And Chris, the Roy Jones is not here, and your father's not here today. Ronnie Davis is here, the sort of the constant in your training life. What will the corner be on the night, or has it not been finalised?
At the moment, Ronnie Davis will be head cornerman alongside Anthony Brown, who's with me. He's been with me my whole career, and hopefully my old man will be there too.
Yeah. In some way, shape or form. Now, when I spoke to you at the sort of official announcement, your dad, if I'm not mistaken, was in transit and you hadn't spoken to him, or I think he was literally on a plane coming back from Saudi. So have you spoken to him since?
Yes, I have spoken to him since, yeah.
And how was he?
Skeptical of the weight, Brain. Skeptical of the weight, and I guess worried that I'm going to, that I'm gonna be too, de-energized, dehydrated. He lost a son last year. I lost a brother. So that definitely plays a part in his emotions, He doesn't want to risk anything, and I understand that. But I also understand that I signed a contract. I'm a professional. I'm not going to go back on my word because of other people's worries, even if it's my own father's. I have a job to do and I have to do it.
Now, as a father, I understand his fears. So were you able to reassure him, Chris, that the weight wasn't as big an issue as perhaps some people were making it into?
Yes. But, the words don't mean anything. The only thing that's going to mean anything is, when that bell goes and I perform. We won't know until that happens, so words can only comfort so much,
In this, and thanks for your time, because I know it's really close to the fight. In the build-up to this, has it felt different to you? Has it felt like I understand what you're saying, that it's been a really relaxed camp, and I do understand that, and perhaps you don't have a fear, but it is a big event. You're aware of the big event, and also that degree of history attached to it.
There's definitely a different aura about this fight. I can't walk anywhere in the country without people screaming and good luck and get him and knock him out, and I've had that in other big fights before, but this, it's taken it to another level. There's real genuine interest and emotion and love and hate in this fight, in terms of the public feeling. People are very emotional and feel very deeply on both sides. My father has a lot of diehard fans, and so does Nigel Benn. I have a lot of diehard fans, and so does Conor Benn. All those emotions are mixing together, and people are getting worked up for sure.
It's got to that stage when people say to me, who's going to win? And I always talk about this before a big fight, and it might be 2 or 3 weeks. I know what they're talking about. They're not talking about, this fight or that fight. They're talking about this fight. When they say to me over the last 2 or 3 weeks, who's going to win, Bunty? They're asking me who's going to win between you and Conor Benn. So that's my gauge of a decent fight. And you've had that same experience. This is just taken on a different level, a different edge. Yeah,
it's a different animal. It's a fight that is it's multi-generational. And that's extremely rare, if not a one-off, where you have, the younger generation, my generation, and the older generation, all emotionally invested in this fight, all wanting to see what happens. That's extremely rare. So I've got a lot of pressure. I've got a lot of responsibility on my shoulders to go out there and do what I say I'm going to do.
Chris, and finally, just this whole gym, this subterranean walk down the slope until you get into this gym, and you can almost feel your ears popping because you're about at sea level or below sea level. Can you remember the first time you walked through this gym, or were you too young? Were you coming in here to watch your dad maybe train?
I've been training here since I was an amateur. I mean, before this gym wasn't actually here, it was
the old one next door.
Yeah, the old one next door, and then this has been built up. But this has still been here for, this particular gym has been here for 10, 15 years.
But the old one, the old wooden beast.
Yeah, the old wooden one is the original one. That's where my old man would have trained with Ronnie. And yeah, it's great to have a camp here. It's great to spar and get fit and get hurt and have good days and bad days, all within the this historic area. There's a lot of history. There's a lot of things that have happened in these gyms, and it gives off an energy. It does fuel you. It does give you that extra bit of fire when you're preparing, knowing everything that's gone on in this gym and what it represents.
I agree with you. When you sit sometimes in that gym in there in silence, I came down earlier today before you came, and I sat in there for a couple of minutes on the ring, and you can sense it, you can feel the history in that room, or good energy as you call it.
Yeah. No, there's a lot that's gone on down here, and then when you come down here, you have to respect it, and you have to uphold it.
Chris, thanks very much for your time. I really appreciate that. Visits to boxing gyms always take longer than you think. You imagine you're going to be in and out 30, 40 minutes, do a quick interview, maybe have a coffee somewhere. No, not when you visit gyms like this, where there are people like the men I've been speaking to. They take a long time because you have to reminisce, you have to go through various protocols, you have to talk to various people. You have to tell the same stories. Sometimes you have a different twist. It doesn't matter. I don't mind telling a story. I don't mind listening to a story. Well, I've wrapped that up now. Eubank could be outside in his fancy car. It's a ridiculous car. I've no idea what it is, but the door's open like wings. Revving it, you might be able to hear it in the background. The sun's still shining. The beach is still there. People are now in the sea swimming. Forget all the sewage stories. I'm wandering past a £12 million house that's owned by a member of Pink Floyd. Apparently he's selling it. Hey-ho. He bought the house, or built the house, which is now worth 12 million, because his daughter lived down the road. She sold her flat, and now he's going to sell his house. And next to that is a Hove institution, a place that Chris Eubank Sr. often sits in the evening and talks to people and entertains people and eats. It's called Morocco's. I mentioned it earlier when I was talking. And they do a speciality of the house, if you like. It's black pasta crab special. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm going to have a little bit of that. On Saturday at the O2, it's Conor Benn against Chris Eubank Jr. The rivalry continues. Certainly is a big fight week. I've been Steve Bunce, on location, in the sun, eating pasta, talking to people in a boxing gym. Just about a perfect life, really.
Let's get ready to rumble!
5 Live Boxing.